Hi, I'm Mark Bridge, Dutch oven chef for the Smoky Hills Wranglers Chuckwagon Supper Show. I've worked all over the West with Chuckwagons of the West, National Festival of the West, and other places, showing people how to cook with Dutch ovens and Chuckwagon cooking. This evening we'll be covering a menu of cowboy roast beef, potatoes, fresh garden tomatoes, green beans, sourdough biscuits, and blueberry cobbler. Okay, the first thing we're going to do tonight is our roast beef. Obviously that takes the longest. And I have a nice chuck here. It's not quite as expensive a cut of beef and they work perfectly in your Dutch ovens. So we are going to first just take our piece of meat, cut her right down the middle. We're going to add salt, and pepper, give it a good coat. I'm going to have my assistant get the liquid smoke for me over there. It's an important element here. Liquid smoke adds a real nice flavor to the beef as it cooks in the Dutch oven. Can't be afraid to use your hands here. There's step one. Now we're going to make our dredge. These aside. Take a nice sized pan. Take enough flour, because we're going to want to coat them real good. In fact, a little more than you think. If you use a lot of flour, as you cook it in the Dutch oven, it's going to make its own gravy. So we'll put our, just going to sift that around a little bit. We're going to add some cookie dust. The recipe for this will be on the website. Give it a good shake. You want to be able to flavor the meat real well. Take and stir that up a little. And at this point we're going to dredge the meat. Just put it right in there. Like I said, coat it liberally. You want all the flavor of those spices and the flour to work its way into the meat. And you're actually going to want a lot more flour on this than you think you do. It's going to help brown it real nicely. Okay. At this point, you might want to use the tongs when you do this. We're going to put it in the hot grease to brown the beef. You can see how well that's coated. That's what you want it to look like when you put it into your pan here. Okay, the next part of the recipe for our roast beef, we're going to do a real simple beef base. It's going to help stew the beef and make it real nice and tender. Couldn't be simpler. We have about 2 cups of water in our Dutch oven. We're just going to use some onion soup mix. Doesn't have to be fancy, it can be just the good old generic stuff. Just pour it into your Dutch oven. It's going to add a real nice flavor to the beef. And we're just simply going to stir that up. This will cook right along with the beef. Okay, at this point our beef is browned nicely and we're going to put it in the Dutch oven and get it over to the fire. So take our tongs. You can see how nicely the beef is browned there. Going to put it in our French onion soup mix. And as this cooks, it's going to boil and really flavor the meat nicely. Turn our fire off. We're going to take the Dutch oven over to the fire and get it on the coals. Take some coals, nice pile about like that. You're going to want to put them both underneath the oven and on top of the oven. Give it the test. You can hold your hand over it for about 3 to 4 seconds. You know you're running about 350-degree oven. We're going to put our Dutch oven on top of the coals. Go into the fire pit here. Add coals to the top. Nice and warm. And we're just going to let it sit. Beef's ready to go. If folks are interested in Dutch ovens, this is your typical setup. This is a 14-inch oven and an antique one at that. You can see the gate mark down here. It's one of my favorites, but if you're going to be cooking around a fire like I am, you want a Dutch oven that has the 3 legs like this, not the type you'd use at home that you'd slide into an oven because you need to get the coals underneath the oven. This one is a 14-incher, came from Amarillo, Texas. I don't have the lid on it right now. But if you want to try these recipes out and get started in Dutch oven cooking, you can typically get Dutch ovens at your local farm store, and they're going to be in about a 12-inch size, which is what you want. If you're going to be doing baking of biscuits, cakes, that type of stuff, you want a shallow oven that runs about 4.5 inches deep. If you're going to be cooking meats and that type of stuff, you're going to want a deep oven like this that's typically about 6 inches deep. The largest Dutch oven you can get is made by an outfit in Utah, MACA. It's a 22-inch wide Dutch oven that weighs 165 pounds. And they claim no one has ever seen the bottom of it. At least you got to see the bottom of this one. So